Kathy Engelbert is in some serious hot water after more information is revealed that she sold a percentage of the WNBA.
WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, once celebrated for her ambitious promise to make the league a billion-dollar enterprise, is now engulfed in a firestorm that could shatter her legacy. Explosive reports claim she quietly sold off a significant stake in the league, without publicly disclosing the terms or where the money ended up. The move has sent shockwaves through the basketball world, sparking fury among players, fans, and league insiders. Many are now demanding answers, accusing Engelbert of operating behind closed doors and jeopardizing the trust she once built. What was once seen as visionary leadership has turned into a full-blown credibility crisis for both Engelbert and the WNBA itself.
Things could not be getting worse for WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. It just did, because more people was digging up all type of things that she has been doing. Now, we got several things to talk about in this video. We got Kathy selling a percentage of the league.
Fans are outraged. Players feel blindsided, and even team owners are quietly questioning Kathy Engelbert's direction. The commissioner, who once promised growth, has now plunged the WNBA into a crisis of confidence. Reports accuse the league of undervaluing itself while hiding the truth about its finances, turning what was meant to be a milestone moment into chaos. Engelbert's attempt to defend herself only made things worse, ending in a public breakdown that left the entire basketball world stunned. Her actions have fractured trust at every level, exposing serious cracks in the league's foundation and leaving the WNBA teetering between a much-needed rebuild and total collapse.
This that's currently going on got shadowed by the WNBA finals, because all of this information came out right before the game started, and a lot of people kind of sat on this information and pretty much ignored it.
Just as the WNBA finals were set to tip off, a storm hit the league that no one saw coming. Fans were locked in on the games, unaware that behind the scenes, a scandal was brewing that would shake the sport to its core. Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner once praised for her vision and stability, was suddenly accused of undermining the very league she promised to elevate. What started as quiet social media murmurs about hidden finances exploded when front office sports uncovered undeniable proof. Their investigation revealed that in 2022, Engelbert had quietly raised $75 million by selling a 16% ownership stake in the WNBA without clear disclosure. The revelation sent shockwaves through locker rooms and boardrooms alike, sparking outrage over transparency, accountability, and trust. Engelbert's reputation as the league's steady hand quickly crumbled, leaving players, owners, and fans questioning whether the WNBA's so-called golden era had been built on secrecy instead of progress.
Now, a lot of people were saying that Kathy may not get fired. From what I'm hearing, she is, and this right here just might be the reason why. Justification to the reason why she gets fired. Instead, in 2022, she led a $75 million capital raise, selling a 16% stake in the WNBA in what the league said was an effort to...
The announcement was supposed to mark a breakthrough moment for women's sports, a signal that the WNBA had finally entered the big leagues of investment and growth. Engelbert hailed it as a game-changing deal that would boost marketing, upgrade facilities, and lift player salaries across the board. But as analysts peeled back the layers, the math didn't add up. The $75 million investment valued the league at only $468 million, shockingly low for its rising popularity. What was meant to celebrate progress instead exposed deep doubts about the WNBA's financial vision and leadership.
Quickly became clear that the stake would an implied valuation of $468 million dramatically undervalued the league, and questions remained about how the $75 million was invested.
At a time when smaller startups like Unrivaled were already securing valuations around $340 million with only a fraction of the WNBA's audience or legacy. The league's massive sale looked far less like strategic growth and far more like desperation. Once the numbers went public, fans and insiders alike asked the same burning question: why sell such a huge portion of the league for so little? Players, already frustrated with low salaries and limited benefits, saw it as a massive insult. Many questioned how Engelbert could so blatantly undervalue a league packed with world-class athletes, while simultaneously insisting there wasn't enough revenue to justify higher pay. The move not only shook confidence in leadership, but also amplified tensions between players, owners, and the commissioner's office, exposing deep fractures in governance and sparking widespread outrage throughout the WNBA community.
So it's looking spooky for Kathy and this whole $75 million investment.
The outrage spread rapidly across forums, Twitter threads, and YouTube comments. Some fans began speculating that Engelbert's real aim wasn't growth at all. It was consolidating her own control. By bringing in a select group of investors aligned with her inner circle, she could reshape the WNBA's power structure without seeking player approval. As more details emerged, another troubling layer of tension surfaced. The sale didn't just bring in money, it fundamentally altered league ownership. The NBA's 30-team owners still held roughly 42%. Individual WNBA franchise owners controlled another 42%. And the new investor group, created through Engelbert's capital raise, now controlled the remaining 16%, giving them significant influence over league decisions. This shift alarmed fans, players, and insiders, sparking widespread concern over transparency, governance, and the future direction of the league.
WNBA stakeholders are divided into three groups. The NBA 30 owners controls 42% of the league. The WNBA owners controls another 42%, and the remaining 50% is owned by investors from capital raise. Owners like Ted, whoever, Joe, whoever, and Herb Simon. That's who currently own the Indiana Fever. All of whom own NBA teams, which WNBA teams and were part of capital raise, now have different stakes in the WNBA. Now, all of this is simply because Kathy decided to sell 16% of it.
That 16% might sound small, but in the high-stakes world of professional sports business, it granted these outside investors enormous influence over crucial decisions affecting players, revenue streams, and future media deals. Once that reality sank in, chaos erupted across the league. Tensions reached a peak during the WNBA Finals when Engelbert appeared on stage to present the trophy, only to be met with deafening boos. The backlash wasn't about the game, it was deeply personal. Fans had grown frustrated with inconsistent messaging and opaque leadership, and the timing couldn't have been worse. That moment crystallized the mounting distrust among fans, players, and insiders, signaling that the WNBA's credibility, governance, and very future were now in serious jeopardy.
Now, just like I stated in the beginning part, a lot of people don't feel like Kathy's going to get fired. I think she definitely is. Just like I stated, this right here could be grounds to do so. Ben Shea said, "Go be fair. The WNBA landscape has much different in 2022. Now people are chomping at the bit to invest and support." Yes. Now I would say that, but so right now it's looking spooky. Somebody said, I had a theory days ago in my first paragraphs, made me wonder about how things went from that to this.
Kathy Engelbert's downfall stands as one of the most shocking collapses in modern sports leadership, a story of ambition turned disaster. Her grand vision to transform the WNBA into a billion-dollar powerhouse unraveled into chaos marked by secret deals, player revolts, and crumbling trust. The highly publicized $75 million sale, once hailed as the league's salvation, instead exposed deep internal fractures, splitting owners, alienating players, and driving major sponsors toward rival leagues like Unrivaled. Now, with NBA Commissioner Adam Silver reportedly intervening, the WNBA faces a defining crossroads: revival or ruin. Fans demand honesty, players call for equality, and investors want stability. The league's next move will determine whether this crisis becomes a rebirth or the final chapter of a broken promise. Real question now isn't whether Kathy Engelbert will survive this crisis. Most believe her fate is already sealed. The true concern is whether the WNBA can ever recover from the deep damage left in her wake, or if her turbulent leadership will be remembered as the moment the league began collapsing under its own ambitions. In the aftermath of the chaotic finals, shocking revelations surfaced, painting a far darker picture than anyone expected. What started as quiet talk of a simple investment quickly unraveled into a full-blown scandal that shattered Engelbert's credibility. According to the Front Office Sports Report, the $75 million deal wasn't merely an investment. It was a direct sale of power. Engelbert had transferred a 16% stake of the WNBA to outside investors, some tied to NBA ownership, creating glaring conflicts of interest. This move blurred the line between progress and exploitation, exposing how a deal meant to secure the league's future instead sold off its integrity and trust for short-term financial relief. What fueled the outrage wasn't just the deal itself, it was the complete secrecy surrounding it. No one outside Engelbert's inner circle knew exactly where the $75 million went. She had promised a total modernization of the WNBA, yet in the seasons that followed, tangible progress was minimal. Player marketing barely improved, broadcast deals remained limited, and league infrastructure lagged far behind expectations. When persistent reporters demanded clarity, the secrecy not only undermined trust, but also deepened divisions, leaving fans, players, and investors questioning whether the league's leadership truly had its best interests at heart. To many, Engelbert's actions felt like a reckless gamble, sacrificing a significant portion of the WNBA's future for fleeting headlines. What she touted as a bold capital raise appeared to insiders as little more than a desperate cash grab. The timing couldn't have been worse. The sale directly intersected with ongoing CBA negotiations, where players were demanding higher pay and greater transparency. By 2024, tensions between the commissioner's office and the players' union had reached a breaking point. Public trust, already fragile, began to erode rapidly. High-profile athletes began publicly sharing posts that called out Engelbert's backroom deals, while fans who once defended her leadership now demanded her immediate resignation. Even former executives started speaking anonymously, suggesting that her obsessive need for control had blinded her to the league's true potential. The breaking point came when an internal memo leaked to the press revealed that large portions of the $75 million had been funneled into vague consulting projects and brand partnerships that produced almost no measurable return. Insiders derided the move as throwing money into smoke. Overnight, hashtags like "Where did the 75 go?" went viral across social media. Engelbert, once celebrated for bringing business discipline to the WNBA, now became the symbol of corporate mismanagement. The backlash highlighted how secrecy, misaligned priorities, and a lack of transparency can rapidly turn admiration into widespread distrust. The league's credibility hung by a thread. Just when it seemed Engelbert couldn't fall any further, the dramatic shift in ownership did not sit well with those who had long supported the WNBA through years of struggle and modest returns. One owner reportedly described it as a hostile takeover, wearing lipstick. For players, the confusion was even more infuriating. Every conversation about revenue sharing or compensation became a grueling exercise in bureaucracy, with debates breaking down over who actually had the authority to approve new terms. The woman once hailed as a visionary capable of transforming the league was now widely seen as the architect of chaos, caught between alienated owners, frustrated players, and profit-driven investors. Her leadership, once celebrated, had become a symbol of mismanagement and confusion that threatened the very foundation of the WNBA. Every press conference and public statement from Engelbert felt like a frantic attempt at damage control, but trust was already crumbling. As confusion over ownership deepened, the league's top players began speaking out, warning that the chaos wasn't just a boardroom problem, it could soon affect locker rooms too. Executives squabbled endlessly over ownership charts, valuations, and investor influence, while players reached their breaking point. For years, they had been told to be patient, that growth would take time, and that substantial paydays would arrive once the league became profitable. But the revelation that Engelbert had quietly sold part of the league at an undervalued price transformed patience into pure fury. Players felt betrayed, realizing the leadership had deliberately undervalued their contributions while benefiting others. Anger spiked further when details of the new CBA emerged. Reports from Front Office Sports indicated a proposed supermax salary of around $850,000, with the minimum at $300,000. While technically an improvement, players immediately rejected it as insulting. Years of dedication and hard work were being undervalued, and the disconnect between leadership and those who built the league threatened to ignite a crisis far beyond boardroom disputes, challenging Engelbert's credibility and the WNBA's very integrity. This crisis had grown far beyond a single bad deal. It exposed a system seemingly designed to silence players while outwardly claiming to empower them. In response, the players' union pushed aggressively for full financial transparency, demanding access to the league's accounting, including every detail of the $75 million capital raise that Engelbert's office had refused to disclose, citing confidential investor agreements. That explanation infuriated players. They had built the league's audience, attracted sponsors, and risked their bodies on the court, yet they were denied a clear view of how profits were distributed. The backlash sparked a movement unlike anything the WNBA had seen. Veteran players warned of a potential lockout if the next CBA didn't include strict revenue transparency, while younger stars, emboldened by the chaos, began speaking openly on podcasts and in interviews about the systemic failures they had endured for years. Engelbert's once tight control over the league was slipping rapidly, and the very athletes she had relied upon to represent league unity were now actively preparing for confrontation, signaling a new era of player-led accountability and power. As player frustration reached its breaking point, the collective bargaining agreement talks quickly escalated into a full-blown battlefield. What should have been routine negotiations devolved into one of the most hostile standoffs in WNBA history. They demanded not only fairer compensation but full transparency regarding the league's finances, a request Engelbert persistently denied. Her refusal only intensified suspicion and conspiracy theories, suggesting the $75 million had been mismanaged or quietly diverted into ventures unrelated to player growth. By this point, the standoff had become a defining moment, exposing deep fractures between the league's leadership and the athletes who sustained it. When Kathy Engelbert stepped onto the court for the WNBA Finals trophy ceremony, she likely expected applause or at least polite silence. Instead, she was met with a furious storm of boos that completely drowned out the arena's celebration music. Cameras scrambled to pan away, but the moment was already captured. Within minutes, the footage went viral, instantly becoming the defining symbol of her unraveling leadership. What was meant to be a triumphant appearance instead cemented her public downfall in the eyes of fans and players alike.